Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chess Wise. Today we are at the next topic, that is the exchange sacrifice, and we are discussing the third position of our topic. Now onwards we are going to cover some typical exchange sacrifice cases which occur from the opening. Basically they are the standard opening ideas where exchange is sacrificed, and we will see what kind of compensation is there for the exchange. So of course after giving the exchange there will not be any forced win, and there will be some positional compensation, nice pieces, bishop pair maybe, a passed pawn and so on. Let's get started with the game quickly. White goes e4, e6, d4, d5. The French defense. In French defense itself, in various lines, there are various types of exchange sacrifices which occur. Many are positional in nature. They snatch the initiative and they also aim to create dynamic play. Often in French defense, the play from a passive position to sudden transition into an active game is very common. White goes for the move e5, the advanced variation, c5 attacking the base pawn, c3, here black goes in b6. White plays an f3 and c6. Black's plan is to attack d4 and white's plan is to protect d4, and then he hopes to gain advantage because of his center and more space. White goes for one of the main moves, bishop e2. Black goes for the move nh6 here. Ne7 is also possible. Here bh6, just black goes dh6, queen b2 is very dangerous. Now castle is mischecked because cd4, cd4, nf5 and the d4 pawn is lost. White goes for the move d3. C takes d4, c takes d4, knight f5, bishop b2. The idea of b3 to protect d4 with bb2. Of course, black has now the move bb4 check. Main drawback in the French defense is the bad bishop on c8, which is blocked here, you can see, because of his own pawns. But to compensate for that, black has all the other pieces which are very active, and that is the reason it creates dynamic play. Now nd2 allows just nd4. Bishop c3 also can allow nd4, or first bishop c3 and c3 nd4. When black just wins the pawn. So white goes with the move king f1. White is hoping to drive this knight away soon, and in spite of the bad king position, black has nothing much to exploit instantly. White can go g3, kg2 and bring out his rook. Once this d4 and e5 are protected well, white can consider going a3, b4, drive this bishop away. Knight will soon join c3. Often knight goes to a4, because of which d4 cannot be taken. Black goes castle. Here the main move is g3. White goes for the move g4, trying to drive the knight away. Knight h6, rook g1. White protects the pawn on g4. He doesn't want to play g5, of course. Knight would again go back to f5. And here now black's position looks bit uncomfortable because bd7 just allows nc3. When after knight a4, knight will get the outpost on c5 after rook c1. And once white is holding the center well, black will not have enough play. So black has to try for counter play here, and black goes for the thematic break f6. After breaking down the base pawn on d4, black attacks the head of the pawn chain. E takes f6, rook takes f6. Now it looks like black has blundered because there is the move g5. But black has some specific idea in mind, and let's see what are the factors that make him take that decision. If we compare the piece placing for both white and black, we see that white's rook on a1, knight on b1 and bishop on b2 are not doing much. The pieces which are playing somewhat are the bishop on e2, knight on f3 and rook on g1. For black, c8 and a8 are not playing properly. Other than that, black's pieces are rather well coordinated. So black decides to sacrifice the exchange and get the pawn on d4. That was the main point, because of which he could play the move f6. Once rook f3, it looks like gh is just good, but after g takes h6, rook f7, rook g7, 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 black will not play kg7, but black can go for the very strong qc7, then queen takes on g7, and after some time e5 will allow bishop h3 check, and black, we will say that, is much better in that case. White goes bishop f3, knight f5. In this game, white goes with the move nc3. If rook g4, then black could just play bd7 as if nothing has happened. then he can just get his rook to f8. Let's say white tries to go away with his king on g1, then rook f8, and we see that knight d4 is going to become a threat. Now this knight is unable to develop because if knight c3, then knight fd4, f3 is attacked. And after any move like knight a3, black can consider the move bishop e8. Black is heading for bishop h5. The knight will move and we are going to create a discovered attack on the f3 square. So this gives black more than adequate compensation for the exchange. Knight c3 allowing knight c d4. White has an idea here. He wants to play na4 and bring two attacks on the d4 knight, which forces black to go with the move qb5. When we see that queens are going to get traded, that is why white thought that he is exchange up, why not trade the queens. So comes qb5 check, bishop e2, knight takes e2, queen takes e2, and black is also saying that fine, I have one pawn for the exchange, I have got a passed pawn on d5 and I have the bishop pair. So he says I will use the power of the bishops on b4 and b5 and try to push this d pawn. Rook can come behind the passed pawn either on d5 or in some cases on the e or the f5. We see that this is a typical French defense exchange sacrifice where he gives up the exchange for a pawn. Let's see how the game goes on. Queen takes b5, bishop b5 check. King g2 almost forced, trying to safeguard the king. Black goes d4. Idea is simple. He will follow it up with d4, then if possible e4 and e3 or just d3. White also plays very actively. Rook c1. Rook is trying to enter the 7th rank. Black stops it with the move bishop d6. Do note that whenever black will try to go bc6 untimely, white would return the exchange over there. White went re1, putting pressure on e6. Black stops it with a tactical move knight h4 check. King can't go to g1 because of an f3. If king moves to h3, then there is the small tactic knight f3. Rook is attacked. If rook takes e6, then knight g5 check and the rook is lost. So the bishops are quite active along with the knight on h4. This is giving enough compensation to black. King h1. So again we see bishop c6 allows rook c6. We see bishop d4. So just e5 and now knight c5. Point is that after bishop c6 check, white wants to block with the move knight e4. So knight has become a nice blockader here. It stops the advance of the e pawn, and even playing d3 very early would allow rook c d1 followed by rook d3. Black now focuses his attention on the knight, which is pinned by the c6 bishop. Again there is a cunning idea. If rook f8 untimely, then rook into c6 would allow white to give up the exchange and reduce the pressure. So comes bd5, re2, stopping the double attack with an f3. Black plays rf8. Already it's time to resign for white because rook f4 is becoming a major threat. White had to play kg1. White plays kg1, getting rid of the pin. Rook f4 would just allow nd6. Now the bishop goes to b4, again threatening d3. The bishop is guarding the square in front of the passed pawn. White went rook d1, stopping d3. Knight f3 check. White chose to resign over here. King f1 just allows nh2, and after any move like king h1 or g2, there is the very strong rook f4. Let's say for instance knight g3, knight takes g5 check, king g1, knight h3 check, king f1, bishop f3. So white chose to resign rather than go for such a torturous endgame. So this was a slightly complex example where black had various tiny positional factors as a compensation for the exchange. I hope you are finding these lessons useful. Thanks for your time.